What's going on, everybody? I thought today I would do something a little different than my normal tutorial videos. Today I'm going to be going over some techniques, specifically a picking technique, how to get your speed up. And there are 3 different types of speed picking techniques that I use in my playing, and I'm going to show you the different techniques and when and where to use them in certain playing situations. So here we go. Okay, so the first technique that I'm going to teach you is just the normal way of speed picking, and this is, I'm not talking about legato picking, I'm talking more of staccato, like very fast, like very fast picking. So this is more of the traditional way, and it's really what I think a lot of guitar teachers teach, and this is what I'm talking about. This is kind of like the normal way, where it's your guitar, your hands are kind of on the strings, and you're really just going up and down using your arm a little bit more. So that's really the more traditional way to do it, is where you're really kind of tightening up using your arm and really getting on top of the string. Alright, so that's the more traditional way. You're not going to get a lot of fatigue out of that. You can actually go a long time playing that way without really getting tired. And that's kind of the traditional way. That's the first technique. The second technique, I call it like the pivot. So if you look at, it's almost like you're kind of pinching and moving around your finger, and you're really using your first finger and your thumb to kind of get that picking motion, and it's kind of like that. So here, I'll show you an example. This is my favorite way of picking, but you can't do it for long periods of time. You can only do it, so my playing, I like to play very dynamically. I like to, play a lot of tasteful things, but then every once in a while throw in like a really fast, like kind of fluttery type of thing. And this is more of like I guess it's called more of a flutter pick style. So like if I'm playing something like, and then I wanted to throw something fast in there, something like that. That's really cool to just be able to, you're basically almost just kind of like reaching for the strings that you want to play. So yeah, so I like to get more like dynamic and rhythmic with my playing, and then every once in a while I like to throw something fast out there. So I don't really need a whole lot of like lengthy energy to be like shredding the whole time. So this technique works out perfectly for me, especially when I do like faster runs in certain passages of the songs. So I'll give you a little example. Using a lot of that technique in my playing, which I really like. The last technique is if you want to, if you're doing like single note stuff, or even like a couple notes at a time. This is the Eddie Van Halen this is where I've seen it first. Maybe somebody else has been doing it, but I got this idea from Eddie Van Halen because he likes to do really long, sustained things, and it's really, instead of using your arm, you're using your wrist, and you're almost like letting your wrist kind of dangle there. And then you're using your arm and your wrist to really get that motion. So it's really, you can go for long periods of time doing this as well, because you're not tensing up your muscles and you're not trying to hold your muscles. You're just kind of, you're using the weight of gravity and your arm to kind of get that, that technique down. So it really works well for single notes and couple notes at a time. But however, it can get messy as far as the tone. So you have to really be able to mute your other strings that are not being, because this can get out of control and you're really handling that extra noise with your left hand. So I'm going to show you an example of that kind of wrist hanging loose motion. See how I'm kind of just, I'm using my arm and I'm kind of like dangling my wrist and I'm going like this, literally. Kind of shaking it. So it's great because you're not like tensing up your arm trying to like get into it. So you can go for long periods of time like that, and that's what Van Halen did. And then I'm using my fingers here to mute these lower strings. Okay, you can do that also for notes that are not just single notes. So it's great when it's a single note thing because I can really mute the other strings and kind of get into it. It's great for more of like, I mean, I'm thinking of it in a blues scenario. Here's another example. You can get a lot of sustain without getting tired doing this, which is great. You can also do that, like if you're playing rhythm too, and you want to get into that a little bit more with your playing fast, but also you don't want to get tired. So let's say you're doing, you could even do octaves too, like. Maybe you just wanted to do a section. That's how you get your cool chords, your little like flutters in there, and that's how you get it in there. So like. So just to recap, there's a traditional way where you're kind of tense, using your arm. Make sure you use your palm to really mute those lower strings as you ascend higher on the strings. And then your second technique is my favorite technique, where you're kind of grabbing for the strings. And then the last one is where your hand is actually floating and you're using your wrist to get that speed. I hope that you really enjoyed this video. I hope that this video helped you in your speed picking, and I hope you learned something. If you learned something, let me know in the comments below. We'll see you in the next video.